Allison was just speaking with the California high school valedictorian and the mom being deported because he is an illegal alien. Should he be allowed to stay? Joining us right now from San Francisco is Rick Oltman from the Californians for Population Stabilization and Mark Silverman from the Immigrant Legal Resource Center. I guess, Mark, let's start with you. Do you think we should make an exception in this case? Okay, here illegally, but valedictorian, good kid, let her stay? Let him stay?
I believe so. There's something wrong with our immigration laws when they end up deporting our best students. Someone like Arthur, who came here without choosing to come here when he was a child. And in fact, there is a solution called the DREAM Act that's been proposed in Congress and had a majority of the Senate in favor of it, that would allow children who are here unlawfully, like Arthur, who want to pursue their studies or go in the Army, obtain legal status. But it didn't get the 60 votes it needs for the filibuster. I think as someone, a baby boomer who can retire in a few years, I need people like Arthur to have good jobs and pay into my Social Security.
And certainly, Rick, since the American education system has spent money giving Arthur this wonderful education, he excelled at it. And let's remind people and our audience, his family came here legally. They entered on visas, legal visas, and they were fleeing their country of Armenia. They were seeking asylum here, and our government decided that they should go back to Armenia because they didn't think that their political asylum case was warranted. What do you think?
Well, certainly this is sympathetic, and I do sympathize with Arthur, and I can see how difficult it would be because he did come here when he was 2 years old. On the other hand, you just heard Mark say it, and he just used the word exception, and so much of the immigration debate today around enforcement is around exceptions. There's this constant search for exceptions to the law. Now, as tough as it may be, the family has had their day in court. They've had 3 days in court. The Ninth Circuit was the third bite of the apple, and for the Ninth Circuit to deny their application really says something. They do have a final choice. I believe they can appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. But we cannot continue to pursue every single exception that the mass immigration people and the open borders crowd wants to have, just so that people continue to stay here.
But Rick, isn't Arthur exactly the example of the type of American dream that we do extend to immigrants, to give them the promise of a great education so they can go on and have a wonderful career and give back?
To this country, not theirs.
Of course. I agree with all of that. But if the law is bad, the law needs to be changed. But we must continue to enforce and obey the law. And I'm in the unenviable position of defending the federal government for enforcing immigration law, which they do a very poor job of, and the Ninth Circuit, which has adjudicated this case. But we cannot continue to search for exceptions. We have got to obey the law. And if this law is bad, and I agree that this looks bad for this young man, then we need to change that law, and then we need to obey that law.
All right, and Mark, real quick, is there anything this kid can do, this family can do? The parents seem to have accepted their fate, but what about the kid?
They should pursue, I've advised them that they should pursue getting a private bill from for example, from Senator Feinstein to allow Arthur to stay and pursue his studies at UC Davis. Exceptions are needed while the law is broken, to give Congress a chance to change the law. That's what exceptions are for. These exceptions, a private bill, in fact, were contemplated by Congress and are built into the law.
All right, and we know that Arthur, sorry to interrupt you, Rick, but we know that Arthur and his mom are standing just off camera. They're still in the studio. Hopefully they will follow that advice, and Arthur will be able to have his dream of this education fulfilled. Thank you both, Rick Oltman, Mark Silverman. We really appreciate you guys coming on. And if all of you at home want to continue this conversation, go to my blog at foxnews.com/greenroom, because I know this is a heated debate that we can all continue.
Did you say green room?
Yes, that's my blog already.
Yeah, Gretchen is